Hi AUC 3413, my name is Valerie and this is my self-narrative. So it's kind of crazy because I'm actually sitting in the place where my narrative took place, or at least the beginning of it. I'm about to direct this camp for FFA, which stands for Future Farmers of America. It's kind of like a cousin to 4-H, for those of you who are familiar with that. A bunch of middle school and high schoolers are about to get here and I am stoked. Anyways, so to give you a little bit of background on my narrative, I grew up in Okeechobee, Florida, with loving Christian parents who supported me and wanted me to achieve just anything I sought out to do. And I worked really hard for the opportunities that I was given, and I was blessed to achieve a lot of them. So early on, I learned this lesson that if you work hard enough and you have family and friends that support you, then you can achieve just about anything you want, which is not necessarily true, and that kind of comes back later into my story. But the one goal that I really had growing up as a child was to become a state FFA officer, thus the camp that I'm doing right now. To be a state FFA officer means that you get to travel for a year serving the Florida FFA Association after you graduate high school. You get to serve as an ambassador for the agriculture industry and present conferences about leadership and get to know students, and I was all about that. So I worked really hard throughout my entire school career, middle school and high school career, to hopefully achieve this goal. And when it came time to attend the screening process, which happens here at the Leadership Training Center, this screening process is meant to predetermine who can run to become a state FFA officer. I worked really hard and studied my butt off. And sure enough, I was one of the top 2 scores. I was blessed to be one of the top 2 scores in this process out of the screening, which basically means that I was able to run for state FFA president. The way that the political system works in this little organization is that if you're one of the top 2 scores in the Florida FFA Association screening process, you can run to become state president, which is great. But if you don't become state president, if you're not elected by the delegates at convention, then you become the state secretary. And so you're guaranteed a spot, basically. You're just not elected to become the state secretary. So here I am. I'm one of the top 2 scores. I'm guaranteed a spot to become a state officer. This is my goal, that I've worked so hard to achieve. And once again, life's working in my favor because I worked hard and I had family and friends that supported me. But as I looked at my opponent, I got a text. Anyways, so I'm looking at my opponent, and it's Clay Sapp, who's actually in our department, and he's actually serving as the national FFA president right now. Clay Sapp is a great guy, and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking he's supposed to be president. And I'm not just looking at him thinking that. I really knew in my heart with a peace that he's supposed to be president, I'm supposed to be secretary. I'd spent many nights praying about it, and I felt sure of this. The problem is, though, just because you kind of know in your heart that you're supposed to be, secretary, doesn't mean that you have to bail out of the race. So I still had to go through this campaign process at convention, at the state FFA convention with 3,000 other FFA members there, running for this position that I knew that I wasn't supposed to have. And it was really awkward and really hard because I'm not really good at campaigning or selling myself anyway. And especially because I knew that I really wasn't supposed to be president. So sure enough, it comes time for the election, and Clay Sapp wins, and I become state secretary, which I thought I would be okay with because I had such a peace about it. But the thing is, I really wasn't okay. There's 16,000 Florida FFA members in the state of Florida, and I believed this lie very quickly that all of them had rejected me, even though only 500 middle school and high schoolers vote at convention, and even at that, a lot of them, the advisors tell them who to vote for. But I really believed that somehow this entire organization kind of didn't want me there as a state officer because I wasn't elected to my position. All the other little vice presidents who were elected on our team of 8, they ran against opponents, and their opponents lost, and so they didn't become state officers at all. They won. Clay Sapp won. Valerie, she's just put on the team. And that was really hard. So initially, I had to deal with this sense of rejection and whatnot, but the real shaping moment, the defining climatic moment, if you will, of this narrative, I guess you could say, was when I realized that my place on the team wasn't necessarily in the spotlight, which I knew to begin with because I wasn't supposed to be president. But even more so, when I realized that my role on the team with these girls, by the way, there were 6 other girls on our team, and Clay Sapp was the only boy, so imagine that. My role on the team was to serve these girls and to serve under Clay and help them to the best of my abilities so that they could serve the 16,000 Florida FFA members that we were elected to serve. And so once I realized that, it kind of shaped the mentality that I had about my year, that this was not about me, this was not about Valerie in the spotlight or me being on the mountain. It was about me getting my hands dirty and looking for every way possible to equip these girls, because a lot of them had their own insecurities and battles that they dealt with as well. So I was doing my best to help them. So I guess you could say my self-narrative is about the lessons and the red ribbons. Like I said, before that, there were very few times where I necessarily lost, but I'm so thankful that I lost that race, because I don't think I would have the same mentality about servant leadership or choosing to put myself second for the sake of others if it hadn't been for that year and if it hadn't been for that defining moment that lasted for a year, and I'm so thankful for it.